Hey everybody, I hope you're well today. Welcome. My name's Jo from Alchemical Journey, and this is a little follow-up video from the one I did with Gary, which was really lovely. And we had some great feedback. I had some great personal messages on YouTube and over on Gary's channel too. So I'm really grateful for that. And this is a real follow-up, really, of that show because most of it, as you heard, was about my journey and how I got to be here. And I love reading all the comments. So many people resonated, people resonate with parts of it. And that's the whole point of my channel. It's about how we are living in this moment today, how we got here, and how we can progress, but without fast forwarding it or waiting for a result. It's about us being in this and enjoying and making the best of it while we're experiencing it. And one of the comments, and this is a great comment, and it's not any critique, but one of the comments that jumped out to me was about borax and about for my skin, if you put it on my face morning and evening, because it was a parasite. And it's a really valid comment because borax has, like Gary mentioned, it has so many beneficial, and I think I even ingested it sometimes, because that's how it was when you're desperate. But the whole point is that that comment really led me to explain that it wasn't about, I was so locked in external seeking, but my whole point was the layering. So for me, it was my skin disease. They said that I had, but that was a result of, it was a result of all the layers in me that had ended up in the result of my face. And that my face then, it could have either made me or it could have broke me. And I explained that in the video, and I don't want to go over it, but it's about this layering. There's lots of talk about shadow work and how we live in this life is how we live when we pass over and things like that, and lots of new age stuff of how to heal your shadow self is big, but what are they actually meaning? So for me, rosacea was a result of, and I used to have the mantra of looking into the mirror and saying, rosacea, I see you, I feel you, and I'm doing all I can to heal you, which basically was a message to myself to say, you know what, I'm taking myself on now. I've tried everything out. And the borax comment just reminded me of that, because I tried so much to heal my face. And that was the big thing that I was concentrating on, was that I need to heal this face, because once I've healed my face, once I don't look like this anymore, ugly, and all the emotions that it was giving me inside, low self-worth, no confidence, and just feeling ugly, and like, how could anybody like be looking at me and not seeing it, all this dialogue. But the most important part of my story is the layering. So rosacea was the result of, my skin disease was the result of, but what were the layers that got me to that place? And again, we all have a story. We all have a childhood. We all have been raised in certain ways, and we all have things that sometimes we can reflect back to, sometimes that are too traumatic to think about, sometimes just our experiences through this lifetime. And mine was the result of that. And it started from my childhood. I didn't have a bad childhood. I felt that it was okay. It wasn't abusive or anything like that. But I can remember even at 3 years old, 3 to 4 years old, just feeling different from my elder sister and my younger brother. And I used to express it through my threes, my fours, my fives, my sixes, whatever, the ages was. I used to try and express it, but I got no response from it. I got no understanding from what I was sharing. So then what happens is you just end up not really talking about it. I definitely couldn't talk about it with my mum, because they were so busy in their own lives. And for me to sort of suggest the things that I was experiencing or seeing or felt like I could do or whatever would have just not gone down. So you end up becoming that sort of thing that you keep to yourself. And then So it was that through my childhood, feeling a little bit different, and then um, just the things that I experienced right up until that 25th, till I was 25, from 25 to 32, when at 32 I took myself on to really begin to heal myself. It was more about 25, I think I started, but the real change came for me a bit later on. So things like being an anxious kid, I also had that feeling of I really wanted to live my dreams. You know, anything I thought about, I wanted to live my dream. But my inner self, because I grew up in a family of, what do you want to do that for? You can't do that. No, not can't actually, because my dad always said there's no such word as can't. But like, what do you want to do that for? They always question my dreams, my desires, my aspirations. And even though they could have given me that doubt, and I did question it, there was something in me that always drove me forward, that always made me do it. For example, when I left school, I wanted to be a hairdresser, so I went into the local town where I lived, and I was an apprentice there. And then it just felt small. Most of it was on sort of, ironic now, little old ladies with grey hair. Do you know what I mean? Putting all the blue um, tints on and stuff. And I just thought, you know what, I want to be more creative in this. So I sort of moved myself to the city, and off I went, and just sort of found out for myself. I found out the best hairdresser in the town, and I went and stood by him in a pub and just got to know him and blagged my way in for an interview. So there was always this driving force, even though I had an anxiety. And then friendships, I had a lot of, I knew a lot of people, but my friendships never really, they fulfilled me when I was a kid, because, used to go out to the clubs and drink and everything else, and used to be fun, but there was always a cut-off point for me. So I'll go out, be all in. I used to live in the centre of Bath, and most of my friends used to come, and that would be our meeting hub, and then we would go out. And I would go out and we would do our thing, have a lovely time. Then all of a sudden there would be a cut-off point where I couldn't go. I'd had enough, that it was too noisy. I always had some sort of interesting person approach me or something. And I just thought, you know what, I'm out. And I used to leave. I didn't just say, I didn't go around to all my mates say I'm going now, because it would have just created. So I just used to leave. And so that I always had this sort of cut-off point. And people used to get really cross with me, but it was just something that I did, that was me. Once I'd had enough, it was finished. And then into my career, within 6 months of becoming an apprentice, a hairdresser in the city, I was working on clients. I was pushed forward so much. The guy that I worked for pushed me forward so much, but that put a lot of pressure on me, because I worked flat out. We didn't have any set lunch breaks. And of course, that just took a tremendous toll on my body. And so I used to do my best to perform and to be the best in it. And I was a very successful hairdresser in a very great salon. But as I started to get older, I noticed that it was taking a toll on my back. I had severe back pain all the time. I was I found it really hard to relax. I couldn't be like I've said in the video, in my own company. And it started to layer and layer. And then when I was 25, my dad got killed. I saw him on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday, I took my new boyfriend to meet him, and on the Friday he was killed. So I had this massive trauma. He was only 50, I was 25. So this was a massive, had a huge impact on my life, because I was one of the lucky ones who had a really tremendous relationship with my dad. I've worked with many people who even though my mum, and I'll probably go back into that a little bit later on, but I had a really, really great relationship with my dad. We used to have great conversation. He was the person I would go to. He was the person I would go to growing up, more so than my mum, because my mum was a little bit emotionally detached, even though, it looked great on the outside, but she wasn't that loving kind of person. And I know that so many people can relate to that through the work that I do. So my dad dying, huge impact on me. And I remember just, it was like my whole life had stopped, and I had to rethink. I didn't realize at the time, but I just didn't know where I was going. I remember saying to my new boyfriend at the time, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I will never do anything to hurt you. But you need to decide whether you want to come along this road with me, because I really am in a place where I have no idea like where I'm going. So I had that. And the way I worked out of that was to become a workaholic. So can you just see? I'm just sort of giving you a thingy, but it's these layering. So all this. So then I became a workaholic. I binge streaked at the weekends, and I just started to layer because I didn't know how to process. Most of my friends hadn't lost a parent. There wasn't anybody really that could relate to me around me at that time. So I was really good at my job. So I just sank myself into that, and I just worked and worked. So the layering of how I became to be diseased, and the result of was all of these emotions all the way up until bang, it just got to that point where I'd tried so many things to help myself. And I think shadow work is, yeah, we can talk about that as well. But what I'm talking about in the healing process is you can't build a house from the ground up. You need a foundation, and it's really important for us to go deeper into, like, when I decided, I was carrying around this like heavy gray, it felt like a gray mass ball in my tummy. My breathing was really short, and my digestive system didn't work. Everything was slowing down. Everything was becoming a problem. I couldn't sleep at night because I was so locked in this mind. And to the point where my husband worked nights, and I used to call him from his job to come and lay with me at night until I fell asleep. And then once I was asleep, he would slip out and go to work. It was that bad. So this state I got myself into through avoidance and through not knowing how to process anything resulted in my face and many other health conditions that I could list. But I'm just trying to share with you that the importance, and it's not about just putting something on my face to heal it. It was my whole being I had to heal. It was the cause, the reaction. It was everything in me that I wanted to heal, and I didn't. And when I decided to do that for myself, I couldn't. It was about not bypassing everything, not everything, anything, not bypassing anything, because I knew I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And that part of me that knew that I wasn't here to be in this suffering. And it did get me into victim mindset. I used to wake up every day, look at my face, and I just couldn't understand it because I knew of the empathy and the child that I was growing up. So she was still there. But yet I felt like I was being attacked in all angles because I just felt so rough. So for me, I keep going back to the borax, and if you're listening, it's fine, but it's just, if I was just to do that morning and evening, put something on my face, which I did, I spent thousands on products you can imagine. If I was to do that, it would have masked the real cause. And that's what I can't do. And I don't encourage anybody to do that, because otherwise the body will let you know. It let me know through constipation, through severe backache, through anxiety, rage, through not sleeping, through just disconnect. And I feel like, especially, and this relates to life now. We wake up every day, especially we wake up every day, and there's another layer. We got the files, we got the PDF files, we got layers upon layers upon layers, and we don't even know where these layers are going to lead us. Are we, it's, for me, doing this work for myself every day is in preparation. I don't think I'm ever going to be prepared for what, well, you've only got to read some of the things that are going on. If you go down the rabbit hole of the files of the stuff that's going on, it wouldn't serve me well at all. But I'm aware. And so this layering and this healing process, I didn't just put the cream on my face. I went in to see what this feeling was, what that feeling was, what that remembrance was, what that trauma feels like now, how I could take action on it, how I could heal myself from it. And that the list is quite long. I met my husband, and then his parents turned against me because they were a traditional family and they wanted him to marry a Turk. So I had that as well, and already my self-worth took a hammering because of my dad dying. So all of these ways, but I have never let myself down in the way that I will sit with myself, find out what the truth is. And it's all about honesty, the honesty of how I truly felt, when I was in my private time of helping myself, and I didn't have to go anywhere to do that. I didn't have to go anywhere. People have always asked me, like, how did you do it? Well, I did it when I was married, and I did it when I was raising 2 children. I didn't want to bleed on my own kids. I didn't want to bleed on my husband. Of course, it came out sometimes, but I had such a deep awareness of myself now. And I even became brave enough to ask my kids if there's any trauma. Have you got any mother wounds? Because I am here right now, and I will, let's talk about it, and let's see where we go with that. And then let's see your understanding of me. And I am very lucky that my daughter said that the only thing that annoys me about you, Mum, is that you sometimes answer my question before I start, before I finish telling the story. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. I will take that on, and I will not do that. And because, when you're raising a child, I've always raised my kids openly with open questions. I've never been a parent who's gone, you're not doing that, you can't do that. I'm just saying, do you think that's a good idea? Would you like to do that? So when she said, yes, there is something, I was a bit like, oh. And then when she said it was just because I sometimes answered her before she finished. And I am able to do that from an energetic perspective, because that's how I am. I'm so energetically tuned to others. So, but anyway, that was quite a compliment, really, because it could have been anything. Because if I wrote a letter to my mum, but never sent it. But if I was to talk to, she's passed away now. But if I was to, sit down to have a conversation about how I felt about us, it wouldn't have gone down well at all. So the whole point of this video is we are getting layered and layered and layered upon. And it's by design. They want to traumatize us even more. They want to put us deeper into fear. They want us to be scared. They want us to disconnect from ourselves to believe. And what I'm trying to say is that we have to rewind almost and come back into how our day is today. We've woken up this morning blessed, and we're going to live the best day today in the best way possible, and in the best self-awareness as we can. So it's the days of masking or pretending or being the yes person. It's about really getting, I feel it is. Some people would disagree because they just want to, some people believe that everything's going to be all right, and that's enough for them. They can just keep walking themselves towards that place. But what about if that everything's going to be all right is not in this lifetime? Even though, because we can't predict it, we do not know. You know, we just do not know. We can speculate, but what we can know is us. What we can know is what's right for us. And the more truth and the more honest we are with us, the more clearer things become, the more power filled we are. It's like people are more interested in prediction or speculation than they are about their own life force. And it just isn't right. So the layering, thank you very much for that comment. But for me, this whole journey is about going right back into my root system and coming from that place up. And that has been my biggest teacher, my biggest learning, my biggest understanding of myself. And I can't recommend it enough. It's you know, the victory, the best victory is to go out of this life as a free man, was a quote by somebody, I think it was on some film. And also the other one I like is there's the beginning, like knowing your own wisdom, because all of this bypass is to take us from, like, there's so many, the AI and the chat GPT are all taken away and bypassing you from the wise one, from which you are, from the knowledge which you have, from the magic which you have, from this beautiful expansion of self, from the remembrance, and to give us chance to really come into our authenticity, not to drag what was with us. That's not healthy, because the body will keep hold of that until you are ready to let it go. Hence why the pharmaceutical company are making so much money out of us, because we're handing ourselves over. And the layering, you know, you wake up, you have a few channels that you might watch to be inspired by, you have a few Telegram channels, whatever, but in that process of going to the person that you want to listen to today, you're always going to see some of the news. And if you are awake and in the knowing of this, to be aware that we're not built to take all of this on. The power lies within, and from that place is where they don't want us to go, because it's so power filled. And so I feel this video has gone all over the place, but the whole point was that we don't want to put cream on it. We don't want to put a plaster on it. We want to really go in. Well, some of us won't, but some of us will want to. And that's what's beautiful, is to really understand your life force and know who you are. I know it sounds cliche, but this isn't about bypassing your way to that. There's so many directions I could go with just that. But for me, it's about the layers of coming in, being honest, truthful, open with self. This didn't serve me, that didn't have what. And from that, it's like the bloom, the budding flower. And it's a beautiful thing. So, I think I'll leave it there. I could go on, but I'm not going to. I'll save it for another time. So, questions, any replies or questions, I'm going to base my videos on those, because I want it to be real now time. I want to be real present. And there's so much to distract us, but we need to talk more about the power of us and getting us to be in this day fully, completely, utterly, truly, wholly. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.